What's going on, everyone? So training camp is a little more than a week away, and I cannot be more excited, as I'm sure many of you are. Hopefully we can start getting in the lab, start working and developing with head coach JJ Redick, and really kind of start shaping this roster, shaping this team to stretch into this upcoming season. The Lakers have no room for error. Obviously, you can make that argument for all teams, but the Lakers' start of the season is brutal. I mean, they could easily start the season, 1-6, right? If things don't really go their way, so they need to be prepared, need to be locked in, they need to be engaged. But outside of the regular training camp, usually we get a training camp that's players only, and it's to kind of build the relationships, build the bond amongst the players on the team. And it's usually LeBron James's training camp. Or not usually, it always is LeBron James training camp. LeBron usually puts together training camp a couple weeks out from the normal training camp to kind of just get early work in as a team, as an organization, get players on the same page, kind of building those rapport, building the relationships, building the chemistry. And, you, have pretty much the same team as last season and last year's LeBron camp, but still, you would imagine that LeBron would want to do that. It's kind of like his tradition. It's kind of something that he's always done. And he has his son this year, right? So you would think there'd be even more incentive for him to want to put together this training camp. And that way he could kind of run some with his son, as well as kind of have his son go against these various players on this team, because he's on the main roster, right? So even if it's not, bringing two-way guys and stuff, but usually he brings everybody. I just think it's odd that it hasn't happened yet. Now, obviously, he went to the Olympics this year. He hasn't done that in a long time, so that very likely could be a big part of it, and probably the main reason as to why. But I feel like this season, kind of more than any, if we're being honest, could really use that training camp, right? We really fell short last year of the goal, right? It wasn't like even in the previous year, at least we made it to the conference finals, right? At least we're in the conference finals. But now it's we lost in the first round to the Denver Nuggets once again, and there's all this talk about, teams getting better and all that stuff. I'm not really sold on the improvements that teams did outside of the Thunder. I think the Thunder really did solve a lot, but I also think that they're still, I think the Lakers are still a tough matchup for the Thunder. But I digress, right? You would think without the trades and without all the things that were hopeful this season or this offseason, that LeBron would be putting together this training camp likely this weekend, and we would get to see and kind of heard some stuff, unless they're doing it secretly, but there's videos and stuff of LeBron in the gym working out. Usually that's kind of its own thing. They're they kind of isolate themselves, to kind of get away, just work on their games. It's put on by LeBron, and it's kind of just, a weekend, 2-day thing of just team building. And it's just, you're not getting that this year. And it's kind of disappointing, right? It, to me, kind of raises a little bit of concern, right? Again, obviously this team has, for the most part, the same exact team as last year, right? You do have a couple, instead of, Torian Prince, you have Dalton Connect, right? But outside of that, him and Bronny James, it's 13 of the 15 guys last year, right? The only guys you're really missing is Spencer Dinwiddie, as well as Torian Prince, right? He followed Darvin Ham to the Milwaukee Bucks, which I still think is hilarious. You still can't make that up. But, it'd be nice to kind of get that early start, get that early kind of lead into the season. I understand LeBron probably wants to take off as much time as possible, but you don't have to go crazy, or you don't have to go hard, unless, which could be the case. Supposedly JJ Redick's practices and training camps are going to be brutal. Supposedly JJ Redick's training camps and practices period are going to be, getting back to real hard nose practices, right? No messing around, right? And to be fair, he comes from originally Stan Van Gundy as well as Doc Rivers, but particularly Stan Van Gundy was notorious and known for just his grueling practices, that he treated practices harder than the games. So, JJ Redick comes from a coaching tree, not from coaching wise, but obviously from player wise, of playing with coaches that are known for heavy, intense practices. So it does make a lot of sense that JJ Redick would kind of follow suit, right? Like, hey, we had success in these places that we were at because we practiced so hard. We were prepared, right? It was more of just like injuries and stuff like that. He went to the finals with Dwight Howard, and Stan Van Gundy was the head coach. So, it is one of those things where, I could see maybe LeBron being like, hey, if we're going to ramp up, like, him not wanting to overexert himself, him not wanting to overwork himself, but I still think it'd be good for the team, right? Like, he could kind of just sit on the sidelines, right? Like, or just kind of do some walkthroughs or whatever, right? But still to kind of just work on that team building, work on that relationship. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first year that that LeBron hasn't done the training camp. I don't remember if he did one. Well, yeah, because he did one going into the COVID season. And then if I'm not mistaken, they did one in that 2021 season, right? Like they had the LeBron training camp, right? He had to do the isolation stuff. But, even if he didn't do that, at least that was like specific circumstances, right? Like that wasn't, him just not doing it. And I understand, again, the Olympics, that he's, him and Anthony Davis probably want to get some rest. Obviously, again, we've seen him and Anthony Davis still in the lab, working on their shots, working on their games. But it's all just like drills and light work, right? They're just kind of getting shots up and, staying fresh, right? It's not, I'm sure, real hard, intense, labor level basketball. So I get wanting to kind of, hey, let's just take a break. Do I really want to go and bring this team and all these players and have to organize and set that? But I mean, LeBron, he doesn't have to set it. Like, he has people that can do all that stuff for him, to where he probably does. I don't think he does it individually, right? Like, so I think it'd be nice to have some team building, right? To get away, to just focus on basketball and just work on the team. I understand that, we have the same team as last year, but still, like, you want to keep building that chemistry, because that's our real hope, right? Our real hope this year is obviously LeBron James and Anthony Davis continue to be great. But beyond LeBron James and Anthony Davis continuing to be great, we get another year of consistency, hopefully better injury history, better health. You get better coaching, right? You have better consistency from guys like Gabe Vincent, from guys like particularly Austin Reeves, right? If you can get those things from these guys, that just goes such a long way, be so impactful for this season. Again, this is a team that won 47 games. This isn't a team that, was 27 wins and it's like, they're terrible. Why does it matter? LeBron doesn't. No, like, this is a team that was good last year. Like, if it wasn't for that 10-13 stretch where they lost 10 out of 13 games, they would have been a top 4 seed last year. And they would have been in the thick of it. And I do think that they'll probably be in the thick of it again this year. Right? I do think that, I mean, don't get me wrong, the West is so tight, right? The West is so rough, but I believe that they're, again, health permitting, in that 4 to 6 range. I still think OKC is probably going to be number 1. Also, teams like OKC, they're just younger, right? So they're going to prioritize seeding over like just health. Where, if LeBron's a little banged up, he's gonna sit. He's gonna take his time. Same thing with Anthony Davis. Where, if SGA is a little banged up, he might kind of push through it, power through it, so that way they can get the 1 seed. It's usually how it goes with young teams. But outside of that, I mean, Denver's a bit of an anomaly. Right? I mean, Denver should still be good, but there are still questions of like, do they start having a little bit of slides? How does that work? Right? Like, there's, again, has a lot of just question marks about the season. The Lakers could be right in the thick of it, right in the perfect opportunity to kind of get in, not have to be a play-in team this year, ideally. Stranger things have happened, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're in the conference finals again and working hard for an NBA championship, right? Never know. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you too have concerns that we're not doing the LeBron training camp? Like, that's always been kind of a big thing to kind of look forward to for the team, for team building, for just working on reps and whatnot. Obviously, everyone's working out. Everyone's doing their thing. Right? Everyone's playing their part. And also, maybe part of it is just not everyone's going to be able to be there. Right? Like, you got Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood, but I mean, they could still be there and like hang out. Right? Like, again, it's not like you're doing it for a week or anything. It's just a day or two. So I'd prefer, if you could, to actually have the training camp. But do you think, like, nah, not a big deal. It is what it is. It'll be fine. They'll have the grueling training camps. Why do you think LeBron didn't have the training camp? I think it's just as simple as, like, hey, he was in the Olympics. He's got to go into, training camp, preseason, regular season. I don't think he plays much in preseason. He probably plays sparing minutes here and there, but for the most part, I don't see him playing heavy minutes in preseason by any means. But again, how you feel? Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.